One text message, one wrong click, one lifetime of savings gone. As mobile money fraud rips through Kenya, are you safe on your phone as you think you are? Tonight on Decoded TV, we investigate. 5 million Kenyans will go to bed hungry tonight, not in a refugee camp, not in a disaster zone, in our cities, in our villages, and in our homes that once fed themselves. Tonight, we ask, is Africa losing the battle to feed itself? 28 million Kenyans will wake up tomorrow without access to clean, safe water. In Nairobi, the taps run dry for days at a time. Every day this year, more than 10 Kenyan nurses have left this country for a job abroad. Our hospitals are hollowing out and the bill is arriving on your doorstep. Tonight on Decoded TV, is Africa's health system breaking? Live from Rokat Newsroom, I am Wango Juguna and we welcome you back to another edition of Decoded Newsreel. To our viewers in Kenya and around the world, good evening. We are with you for the next 25 minutes and tonight we bring you 4 stories that touch every household in this country. Thank you for joining us. This is Decoded Newsreel. You can join the conversation on our social media handles: Facebook at Rosecut Newsroom, Twitter at Rosecut Newsreel, and they're using the hashtag Decoded right now. One text message, one wrong click, one lifetime of savings gone. Kenya is among the most digitally connected countries on this continent, and that connection has come at a price. Every month, thousands of Kenyans lose their hard-earned money to mobile money fraud and online scams. Cyber criminals are no longer targeting just the banks, they are targeting ordinary citizens, small businesses, even government systems. Your personal data, your name, your ID number, your location, your phone, in your contacts. This has quietly become a commodity, bought and sold without your knowledge or consent. Tonight on Decoded TV, how safe are you really in the digital age? You can join the conversation. Tell us, have you or someone else you love ever lost money to an online scam?
One text message, one wrong click, one lifetime of savings gone. It is the most ordinary story of 2026 Kenya, and it is happening right now on a phone in someone's hand somewhere in this country. A retired teacher in Nyeri loses 300,000 shillings she had been keeping for her granddaughter's school fees. A boda rider in Nakuru wakes up to find his M-Pesa account drained. A small business owner in Isli discovers her supplies line has been hijacked and 12 months of stock has been redirected to a number she will never trace. Kenya is one of the most digitally connected nations on the African continent, and that connection has become both our greatest strength and our most exploited weakness. Cyber criminals are no longer just targeting banks, they are targeting your mother in the village, your cousin running a salon in Kayole, your friend who just installed a new app to track her steps, your personal data. Your name, your ID number, your phone contacts, your location has quietly become a commodity bought and sold in markets you will never see. The Office of the Data Protection Commissioner reports that Kenyans lost more than 4 billion shillings to mobile money fraud in 2025 alone. 9 out of every 10 victims never see their money again. And while the law exists, the Data Protection Act of 2019, the Computer Misuse and Cybercrimes Act, the gap between what is written on paper and what is enforced on the streets remain vast. Cybercriminals are working faster than regulators, faster than the courts, faster often than the banks themselves. The hard truth is this: in the digital age, every Kenyan is now a target, every transaction a potential breach, every click a small act of faith. The next conversation this country must have is not about whether to embrace technology, it is about how to protect the millions who already have. For Decoded TV, I am Felipe Sinyembo reporting from Nairobi.
On dangerous digital habits that Kenyans must stop. From real-world experience, there are some risky habits that actually everyone should stop. Stop sharing OTPs and PINs, especially with somebody who claims to be from support. The other thing I would say, also stop clicking on unknown links in SMSs and in WhatsApp. The third one I would say is stop using weak and repeated passwords. They are easy to guess. And the fourth one I would say is stop connecting to public Wi-Fi, especially where there's no protection. Because what happens in such a case is that an attacker could be sitting within the same vicinity and they would be able to intercept your network traffic. And if it is not encrypted, everything will be in clear text for them to use. And finally, I would say stop ignoring any apps and phone updates, because what you'll find is that the security fixes are embedded in those updates. So always ensure your phone is up to date, your app is up to date. And then I would say you need to shift your mindset and say stop trusting urgency. Most scammers will rely on panic. They will tell you act now or you will lose your money. Are we digitizing faster than we are securing? Honestly, I would reply yes. And I would say slightly. Kenya is a digital leader. Then you find that security is still catching up to innovation. So when they roll out thousands of services, it is impressive. But each service introduces new vulnerabilities. In the figure of 4.5 billion threats in a quarter, that shows one thing, that the attackers are scaling faster than the defenses that we have put in place. So the solution is not to slow down digitization. The solution is to embed security from the start, not as an afterthought. So what I would recommend to everybody is that as we move forward, is that we build not fast and have security later, but build with security from day one.
On any given evening in Kenya, more than 5 million people go to bed hungry. Not in a refugee camp, not in a disaster zone, in our own cities, in our own villages, in homes that once fed themselves. Across the wider continent, that figure climbs to more than 280 million human beings. The price of unga has doubled in 3 years. Sugar has become a luxury. Cooking oil is a negotiation. Our farmers are walking away from the land. Our pastoralists are watching entire herds die in their drought. And our supermarket shelves grow more expensive by the week. Tonight, on Decoded TV, is Africa losing the battle to feed itself?
Dinner time in a Kenyan home in 2026. The plates are smaller, the portions are thinner. The protein, once a non-negotiable on a Kenyan table, has become an event. The price of unga has doubled in 3 years. Cooking oil has become a negotiation between a shopkeeper and a customer who can no longer afford the liter she once bought without thinking. 5 million Kenyans will not go to bed hungry tonight. Not in a refugee camp, not in a disaster zone, in homes that a generation ago fed themselves. Across the wider continent, the figure climbs to more than 280 million human beings facing acute food and nutritional insecurity. And the puzzle is sharper in Kenya than almost anywhere else because this is a country with fertile soil, 2 rainy seasons in most regions, and a long, proud agricultural tradition. The question every food system analyst keeps asking is the same. Why are we not feeding ourselves? The answer, the experts say, is not one failure. It is many failures stacked on top of each other. Post-harvest losses that wipe out to a third of what our farmers grow. Fertilizer subsidies that arrive late or never. Climate shocks that have rewritten the planting calendar our grandparents could read with their eyes closed. A pastoralist sector watching entire herds die in successive droughts. and a national reliance on imported wheat, imported rice, even imported maize in a country whose soil is among the most fertile on the continent. The painful truth is that Kenya does not yet have a food shortage. Kenya has a food system failure. And until that system is rebuilt, from the seed in the ground to the plate on the table, the empty space on a family's dinner table will keep growing. For Decoded TV, I am Ashley Asachi reporting from Nairobi.
Kenya's food security. I look at it from a perspective where I can talk about it is not really a fundamentally a production issue, rather a problem alone which we as a country can actually focus on. It's more of a system of governance, and that's why I like talking about policies in when it comes to these matters, because but I'm very certain we could have proper food supply, a proper food security for the nation for a certain set period considering having a buffer periods where we can say, oh, this period we didn't do nice, but what do we have in stock? Not that, oh, we don't have produce at this moment. What do we have to do? Do we have to donate for each other? Do we have to call in our neighbors to help us? Do we have to call in donations? And we know where these issues about donations have landed us. We know where issues about getting food from our neighbors has gotten us, especially with cases such as Tanzania. At some point, they've had to block some supply to our country because of policy differences. One policy difference made on one end can easily affect the other country. Do we really want to be a country which is really highly dependent on such matters? That's why I'm talking about proper policies, it's a governance issue, so proper policies that can help us address such issues. And on the next issue I'd like to address on the same would be about we are seeing a failure of productivity on productivity inequality in terms of what farmers produce and who are these farmers, because there's a pattern we've seen in recent past where there are only specific or individual set of farmers who happen to really supply the Kenya Food Produce Board with their produce. Yet there are farmers somewhere in Rift Valley, certain sect, not fully all farmers, but certain sect of farmers who don't really get to supply. And you wonder why, because the produce board doesn't get to them. When they get to take their food, they're not equally compensated for that. So there is quite an inequality on that needs to be addressed. We need to have, and that's why I say we need to have a continuous conversation with our farmers as stakeholders who are driving change in the agricultural sphere within the country. We need to have governance experts involved in such talks, because at the end of the day, we can make policies from the boardrooms to parliament, but if that particular farmer is not really consulted on how they're affected with certain policies, they are going to be left behind, and that's why we are going to see low productive levels. We are going to see a high inequality. One farmer is having proper quality of produce from their farm. The other is not. The other one is not getting the same, because one farmer got subsidized fertilizer. The other one didn't. The other one actually used their own money, went an extra mile to get it. But are they getting the same quality? Are they getting what they all deserve as farmers? So we need to stop this cherry picking. Who knows who within the agricultural area? So Wango, looking at listening to your question about what will change everything, what will give us a different direction, a clear direction, a new change, a new breath of life within the nation in terms of food security. So, from a policy evidence and a policy perspective, I'd say the single most transformative thing that will change agriculture or will change food security within the country will be investing in the proper required instruments. And what am I talking about? I'm talking about the proper infrastructure. I'm talking about proper storage facilities. I'm talking about supporting the farmer ecosystem. Yeah, I'm talking about irrigation water management. This has been an issue I have I've talked about severally on several instances. So I think investing on these issues will be key. This will be key in channeling a proper way forward for our country in terms of food security. I mean, the evidence is it's out there. It shows that countries that actually invest in infrastructure, in their irrigation infrastructure, in their storage infrastructure, financing their farmers, have actually upgraded the quality of food supply they have in their markets. These are countries which no longer have to depend on other countries for their survival in terms of food security. So, and why am I saying this? Food security in Kenya is actually heavily shaped by the dependency and unpredictable of rainfall. We've all seen this over and over, year in, year out. There's an year, I think, back in 2022, 2023, where we sort of didn't have enough rains. We didn't have enough rains. I'd say highly the level that was required or needed for produce in the country wasn't quite enough. And our farmers really struggled to get enough produce. As a country in general, we had a period where during that same period we couldn't have unga in our shelves in the supermarket. The government had to step in and subsidize the price of unga because what does it mean when you don't have unga in your shelves? The prices go up. When they go up, people rush to buy them. When the people rush to buy them, it means only a few people can afford it because the government had to step in and say, hey, you can only get 2 packets of unga a day, right? And it happened to the point that we're getting unga for about 99 bob because that was once it was subsidized. Without subsidies, that same price of 2 kgs of unga would go for around 220, 230, to as high as 250. And that showed that there's high level of food insecurity in the country. There's high level of unpreparedness. So food insecurity is highly important in this country. We need to look more closely in our policies. We need to see what are the gaps that needs to be filled. Yes.
Our land, where golden sunlight kisses the escarpments, progress beats strong. A simple message, payment received via Equitel. Education empowered, dreams unlocked. Equity moves with you, securing futures, building trust. Together we thrive, with hands and hearts aligned. Equity, you are listening, caring partner.
Turn on your tap tonight in parts of Nairobi and nothing comes out. In Turkana, a woman walks 10 kilometers under a burning sun to fill a single jerry can. And when she finally gets home, the water may not be safe to drink. The United Nations warns that nearly 400 million Africans already live without reliable access to clean water. In our own country, that number is now approaching to 28 million. Rivers that fed entire cities are drying up. Aquifers that took centuries to fill are being emptied in a single generation. And the people who pay the price first are the people who can least afford to. Tonight on Decoded TV, are we slipping into water bankruptcy? Tell us on our social media platform using the hashtag Decoded TV right now.
Turn on your taps tonight in parts of Nairobi and nothing comes out. In Kibera, Mathare, entire estates of South B and Embakasi, the water has not run for 3 days. Households are paying middlemen with yellow jerrycans more in a week than the city utility will charge in a month. In northern Kenya, the picture is harsher still. In Turkana, Marsabit, and Wajir, women and girls walk distances that will shock any city dweller, 10 kilometers or sometimes more, for water that may not be safe to drink, and when they finally bring it home. 28 million Kenyans, more than half this country's population, do not have reliable access to clean, safe water. Across the African continent, the United Nations put that figure at nearly 400 million human beings. Aquifers that took centuries to fill are being emptied in single generation. Rivers that fed entire cities are running dry. And the climate, by every credible projection, is going to make this worse before it makes it better. Behind the headlines lies the quieter crisis. Cholera breaks back to informal settlements. Children missing school because the walk to the water point has become school day itself. Small businesses closing because they can't guarantee a clean glass of water to a customer. Water is not a luxury good, it is a foundation on which other public service is built: health, education, agriculture, dignity. Without it, none of these systems hold. The investments needed to fix Kenya's water infrastructure runs into trillions of shillings. The cost of not fixing it is measured in lost lives, lost productivity, and lost faith in state is already higher. For Coded TV, I am Lucy Masharia reporting from Nairobi.
Thank you for the question. I want to go direct to the question. It has been quite a disadvantage because 5 years ago we used to have the water bill used to be less. Right now things are a little bit higher. The water bill is really kind of higher, and it's an advantage for us because we're not getting the water we are getting, and we're not having the proper water supply. And in terms of the water flow, it's not really helping us. But how I wish the government could try and help us solve this situation, because we are facing a lot of challenges. We're really trying to solve so many things in terms of washing machines, having our jelly, whatever we're having. But let's try as much as we can to get the water problem solved.
Picture a mother in a country hospital corridor at 4 o'clock in the morning, her child burning with fever, waiting for a doctor who may not be coming. Across Kenya, our most experienced nurses and doctors are leaving for jobs in the Gulf, in Europe, in anywhere that will pay them a living wage. The cost of private care has never been higher. Public wards have never been more crowded, and ordinary Kenyans are paying the highest price this country has ever seen for the worst care we have ever offered. Tonight on Decoded TV, we take you inside the system that is quietly buckling under our feet.
4 o'clock in the morning in a county hospital somewhere in Kenya, a mother has been sitting on this bench for 6 hours. Her child has a fever that will not come down. The nurse who admitted them at 10 o'clock last night has not been back to check. There is no doctor on duty until 8. Across this country tonight, this scene is playing out in hundreds of public wards, not because Kenyans do not care, not because our medics do not try, but because the system itself is battling under the weight of an exodus we are only now beginning to understand. More than 3,500 Kenyans nurses left the country for jobs abroad in 2025 alone. That is more than 10 every single day. Doctors are falling close behind. The World Health Organization wants that Africa carries 1/4 of the global disease burden, but trains less than 4% of the world's health workers. And Kenya, despite being one of the best trained pipelines on the continent, is hemorrhaging that talent faster than we're replacing it. What does this mean for the ordinary Kenyan? It means longer queues, it means higher private hospital bills as patients flee a public system they no longer trust. It means a county hospital that cannot stock antiretrovirals because the supply chain has cracked. It means mental health, the silent epidemic, remaining locked behind those we still pretend do not exist. The pay work is brutal. A registered nurse in Kenya earns in an year what a colleague in the Gulf earns in 3 months. Until we close that gap or radically reform what nursing in this country looks like, the planes will keep taking off. The queue on that wooden bench at 4 o'clock in the morning will keep growing. For the College TV, I'm Gloria Werimo reporting from Nairobi.
So thank you so much for the question, and here are my thoughts. My thoughts are checking on how the consultation fee has really climbed. It's becoming very difficult for normal citizens to afford the medications. The price of medication is also really high. The cost of the drugs, and also since most of the hospitals are now expensive, people go to the public hospitals, which you find are overcrowded, very few nurses or doctors, since they also have the thing with, they have the strikes, so sometimes there is nobody to attend to the patient.